With this, everyone, the Ghana Gold Board has officially begun licensing service providers in the gold trading sector starting today. A statement said that Ghanaians aged 18 and above, as well as fully owned Ghanaian companies, are now eligible to apply for various categories of licenses. These applications can be made online via the Gold Board website at goldboard.gov.gh or in person at the organization's main office in Accra. Here's more in this report.
According to the statement, the categories of licenses that can be applied effective immediately are as follows: aggregator license, self-financing aggregator license, buyer license tier 2, and buyer license tier 1. Further categories included refining, smelting, fabrication, storage, transportation, and importation licenses will be made available for application starting in July 2025. The Gold Board also stressed the importance of understanding the legal requirements involved. An applicant must carefully read, understand, and accept the terms and conditions of a license before proceeding to apply for same, the statement advised. The Gold Board reiterated a previous directive for all foreigners to exit the local gold trading market by 30th April 2025.
Now, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Akyam has announced that the central bank is set to begin regulating cryptocurrencies in Ghana starting this September. He made the disclosure at the African Leaders and Partners Forum in Washington, D.C. George Affe reports.
The Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Akyam noted that this has been influenced by some development in the industry and also to ensure that the regulator actively captures happenings in that sector.
I was surprised to know that there are Ghanaian business people who are able to pay for their imports. They don't go through any bank. All that they do is to go through what? Crypto. And a gentleman walked to me and showed me the data. He pays about $5 million a week to his suppliers. He's into frozen chicken imports, and he doesn't go through any bank. So when I saw that data, I became alarmed. Because what it means is that his $5 million a week is not going to our balance of payments. It's not going to our records. And yet it is happening. So you can understand the scale.
The governor announced that to aid the effective regulations of these crypto platforms, they have set up a special unit on digital assets at the Bank of Ghana.
At the central bank, we are setting up a special unit on digital assets. We are setting up these to be able to regulate the crypto platforms. As it is now, there's no visibility. And yet, this is technology we cannot prevent. And so hopefully by September, we hope to have what they call the VASP law, the Virtual Asset Providers Act or law. We intend to pass that in place so we can license vast platforms and the likes. And we are working with SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, to be able to manage these. We don't want to stifle innovation, but we want to be sure that these are done in an orderly and in a safe way.
Speaking on other issues at the African Leaders and Partners Forum organized by the EBII Group at the Ghana Embassy in Washington, D.C., USA, the governor noted that pursuing macroeconomic stability should be seen as one of the surest ways to attract the needed capital to Ghana and other African countries.
The U.S. should support Africa's ability to trade competitively by investing in both infrastructure and trade finance. Through institutions like the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation and Exim Bank, the U.S. can partner with African countries to strengthen ports, roads, and energy systems, while also helping scale trade finance hubs to support SMEs and emerging exporters. Let us shape a future where Africa and the U.S. are not just trading partners, but co-creators of prosperity, where American innovation meets African ingenuity, where partnership is not extractive, but transformational. If Cosmos could help launch Ghana's oil era, and niche cocoa could move from Accra to Wisconsin, imagine what the next chapter of US-Africa trade could look like with the right policies in place.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, noted that the central bank is committed to putting in place the necessary regulations and structures to assure foreign investors that their capital are safe when they invest in Ghana.
Well, joining me on Zoom is Henry Koba, lead for Eyes of Africa, to discuss this. Good afternoon to you, Henry. Just wondering what the motivation of the Bank of Ghana is this time to sort of want to regulate cryptocurrency beginning in September.
Thank you very much, Daryl. So, Daryl, I'm surprised the governor is surprised looking at that data. That data has long been in public known. We've spoken about this almost about 4 years road. I mean, almost every time we're talking about crypto on this show. And so as much as the governor really would want to be pushing this has already been in the public space. But again, it's not much of a surprise because he's relatively jumping back into the governor's space now, and he's sort of having more understanding of the data that sort of sits outside. I mean, any other governor at this level and in this time should really be looking at cryptocurrency. It's been a point where we've mentioned that quite a lot of transactions are going off the books but are happening there. Personally, I've been in this space for close to almost about 9 years, and I can tell you for a fact that, I mean, I can understand the Bank of Ghana's regulatory objectives that would probably want to ensure integrity and stability in the financial sector. They would want to protect consumer and investors. They would want to go against financial crimes or first-time innovations and integrations. I mean, quite a lot of objectives from their end, I must say. Again, for us in the market, we're also looking at the easiest way to go through whilst not going through the stiff procedures, which is actually sitting in the banking sector. Personally, I'd always mention that whenever I have to be in the US, I'm always using crypto because it's so difficult getting USD whenever I have to travel out of the country. And so the easiest point is to buy, cryptocurrency with mobile money. And that has been happening for almost about 3 years, 4 years down the line. And so if there's some level of regulations and an act to sort of guide us, I think it's in the right direction. We're not going to be the first. The US has already come into it. They've signed an executive order to be pushing this. And so I think that we're sort of looking too late to this, but there could be some beneficial pointers to it.
Well, what kind of regulation or guidelines do you think that the central bank will adopt? Global standards or a unique local approach?
I think that they should be looking at a unique local approach. The reason being that, I mean, cryptocurrency is sort of global, but we have our own challenges, and our challenges are the ones that are driving us to be getting into crypto. I mean, people have been looking at the local challenges to be using, to be getting into the banking sectors and all of that. As cities always depreciating, people have been using cryptocurrency for investment. And so if you're just going to just regulate, just trade without having to look at the investment side, you're going to lose because quite a lot of people are now keeping a lot of assets into crypto for investments locally because that's sort of like a store of value for them rather than just trading. So a lot of people do not spend a lot of time to say they want to trade crypto. They spend a lot of time to say, I want to keep my money in USD or a stable coin down in crypto. Again, we have to sort of understand the terrain which we are in. The US can afford to say, we want to just be in that space, have our securities in there, only because they are looking out for a lot of intelligence. But for us here, I don't think that a lot of intelligence really is going to be the focal point. We're looking at how to get people to be in that space. People are looking at using the crypto space to sort of pushing some level of investment and enrich themselves, sort of. So there are quite a number of factors that we sort of have to look at locally, and how we're going to fine-tune the regulations to sort of meet our own standards. I think that would really be of help to us than rather just adopting anything that comes and then just running with it.
Well, one last question. How do you think that this move by the central bank, if they are able to begin in September, how will it impact the financial system and the economy?
I think that there have to be a bit of piloting projects on this, first of all, because I've seen the ECD running around. I've not seen how best they've been able to throw it out. I've seen it coming off in a while. I think that September will probably be a rush. I can understand that the government is also looking at investing into fintechs. And so I'm thinking that if we could just push in a bit of space, put in piloting projects, understand the system, understand those who are in the trade, open up the conversations, have a lot of dialogue. I think that would be better off than rather just having a team that will just sit at Bank of Ghana and will put together some level of policies and procedures that anybody could relatively get in. I mean, we've been doing this without policies and procedures from banking. And so it will have to get in. There has to be a lot of consultations. There have been people that have been building projects. There have been people that have been building these digital assets. There have been people that have been showing these digital assets for years. And I'm thinking that the conversation has to now be opened up. There has to be a lot of consultations. There has to be that mindset, even training in that sense, to get people to be more trained in that direction, to know how we can proceed and how we can get in, rather than to rush and say, because there's some level of data that is showing that there's been a lot of people jumping onto crypto. We'll also just form a team, get some policies, throw it to Parliament to get approvals and run with it. I think it wouldn't be the approach we should be looking at. A lot of consultation, training, and then that could get us there.
All right, Henry Koba, lead Eyes of Africa, thank you so much for your perspective. You're watching The Marketplace here on the Joy News channel. We are taking a short break, more stories coming up. Welcome back to The Marketplace. The government is promising a possible reduction in utility tariffs in the coming months. However, this will be dependent on ongoing efforts to stabilize the city, reduce inflation, and lower the cost of power generation. Key factors that influence the quarterly tariff review. Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Richard Jan Mensah, shared this during an interview with Joy Business on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank Spring meetings in Washington, D.C.
With the IMF conditionality, you can't pick and choose and say, okay, I'll go with this one wouldn't go with it. It's a whole compact that has come up with. We are hoping that we will things, and then also with adjustment. It is not always the case that adjustment means that it is going to be upwards adjustment. When the parameters that are used for assessing the adjustment actually also becomes quite stable or improves, there are possibility of also the tariff coming down. And that is what we are committed to, making sure that losses within the system, which invariably probably may be considered in terms of determining the tariff, if those ones are taken out, obviously prices will come down. Two, we also have to look at the factors, the forex effects, which are also in the price build-up. If we are able to also improve upon the city's strength against the international currencies as well, I believe that would also bring in some positive gains, and that can affect the tariff to go down. Now, also in generation, this government is considering, most of our power generations we use for liquid fuels. And now, and it's quite expensive. If you look at the budget of liquid fuel, even from now, the third quarter to the end of the year, it is in a range of about $1.2 billion. This government is looking at how best we can get adequate gas, the gas to power the thermals, which is relatively cheaper as compared to the liquid fuel.
Well, joining me with a quick reaction is President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Akyam Jr. Good afternoon to you, sir. So talk to us about how significantly you're impacted by utility tariffs, and what would change if the tariffs go down?
Much, Daryl. If you look at it from the point where it's been established as well that 6% of your revenue from your customers should be what you go into electricity. And then you have a case where in our system, you are talking about 15% in the past, and now getting to about 20% of your revenue goes into electricity, then it is a very important issue. And we are so much concerned about that. I don't really know where the gentleman you spoke to is coming from, but we are basing our current situation on the 14.5%, which we understand we are going to be slapped on from early May in terms of electricity. So the points raised are a bit futuristic, and all things being equal, it didn't get better. But the reality on the ground now is that our bills are going to go up by an average of 14.5%. And if you just suppose with what I indicated earlier on, that almost about 20% of our revenue goes into electricity, then the situation is that
All right, so that was Richard Jan Mensah. He's the Deputy Energy Minister who spoke to George Affe at the IMF World Bank spring meetings there. So, I mean, yeah, while it sounds positive, it's dependent on so many things like inflation going down, the city stabilizing, maybe the economy stable. And so how confident are you about seeing these materialize and effectively translating a reduction in utility tariffs?
You know, these are statements that in business you get to hear a lot. Okay, you get to hear a lot. So one moment it's about the exchange rate, another moment it's about the cost of borrowing, another moment it's about inflation, and it gets a bit frustrating because the bottom line is that we want to reduce the cost of doing business. And in our case, when it comes to the hotels, electricity is a major issue. And we would have expected that from the nature of our business, as we've been saying all over, that we should be insulated in a way from some of these changes in the economic indicators, which leads to increased tariffs. We should be insulated. Okay, but if we are not, and we continue to be affected by the slightest change in the economic environment, then we'll always continue to be in trouble. So, yeah, the statements are okay, but for us, the reality on the ground is that from early May, 4.5% increase. If nothing changes, we'll still be where we are.
Yeah, and seeing that this government said they were going to create a conducive environment for business, I don't know what the engagements are. Are you engaging them? Are you dialoguing on the burden the utility tariff hikes are going to be on you, and what other reliefs are you seeking? I remember during your press conference, was it last week, you talked about the burden of the utility tariffs as well as the tax burden.
Well, so far, unfortunately, not so good. We have not really communicated directly, except to say that if we are part of the bigger industry picture, which is run by the Association of Ghana Industries. Indeed, the MD of Labadi Beach Hotel is a member of that group, and he speaks for the tourism and hospitality industry. We engage with him a lot on that, and he's been bringing some of these issues to the AGI. So indirectly, I would say that our issues get communicated, but not directly. We are yet to meet any direct government official to discuss some of these things, which we are hoping for, including our own minister. We are waiting for the minister to meet us on a lot of these issues, which we talked about, you will recall, before her appointment. And then we've also been knocking on her door after her appointment. So we are expecting that she will call us one of these days. So together we see how to address some of these things. I mean, is it not possible to also fix our utility tariffs from the beginning of the year and then make it a bit constant for us? Because this advancing tariffs does not help us at all. And usually it's an upward adjustment. It never goes down, like the minister to say.
Thank you.
Times it goes down, it's far less than times it goes up.
Thank you so much for your time. Tell you what, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope that city stabilizes. Let's hope that inflation goes down, and there's the cost of power generation also goes down. Now, more news on our website, myjohnonline.com/business. BoG to begin cryptocurrency regulation. We brought you that story. Read that plus other stories on our website, myjohnonline.com/business. We leave you with our Money Lab episode.
Hello everyone, you are welcome back to the Money Lab. My name is Charles Entry, a senior with the Audit and Assurance Unit here at Deloitte. From our previous episode, we learned about audit readiness, and I believe it was informative and an educative session for you guys. In today's session, we are going to look at how to supplement your income here in Ghana, and I've grouped this into 3 different points. The first one is online tuition. So people can offer their services at online tutors for some institutions such as the ICAG or the ACCA, or regardless of the industry you find yourself in. There are people who are looking to write their professional exams, and once you are versed in those skills, you can offer some of these services. The second one is content creation. I mean, content creation is like the new issue in town now. Depending on whether you want to be a YouTuber, you want to have a blog, or you want to have a podcast, you can explore these opportunities and make money from these avenues. The last one would be transportation. And in terms